Hello and welcome to the weekly MG podcast, streaming live on Monday, the 14th of June, 2021. We're here as usual to talk about MG electric vehicles, the MG ZS, the MG5 and the MG HS, and we're hoping to inform and hopefully as well entertain you for about an hour or so. I'm Stuart Whitman from Southampton, username StuWhit46 on the forum. And joining me on this episode are Les Burrows from Wigan.
I'm Les Burrows from Wigan, same username on the forum.
And then we've got Michael Fisher from South Wales.
Hi, username Fish to Bean on the forums.
And then we've got Dave Bell from north of Warwickshire in England.
Yep, FCAP53 on the forum.
And then we've got Miles Roberts from North Yorkshire, Innovations Development Manager at the Chorley Group.
Good evening, miles per kilowatt hour on the forum.
And if you're watching live, thank you for joining us, and please click the like button and say hello in the chat window. We will be looking out for your chat. If you've got any points you want to raise, then please do so, and hopefully we'll be able to run with them. We've got a number of topics that we'll be going through this evening, so hopefully you'll get some use out of them. If you're watching later, thank you for choosing to watch this video, and please subscribe to get a notification when we go live next time. So in this podcast, we're generally chatting about MG EV ownerships. So let's start the ball rolling. So we're going to start with something that I've been looking at on the forum over the last few weeks. Stuart Wright asked the question, what car did you come from or change from when you went to your MG? I've added up all the responses, so I'll give you the answer a little bit later on. Just wondering what everybody from the chat here, what did you come from? So Mike, can you let me know what you had?
A lovely white Ford Fiesta diesel.
Right, okay. And was that an older one or a newer one?
Newish, 12 plates.
Okay. And had you ever had a new car before?
Yeah, the Ford Fiesta was new. So
you ran it
I just ran it to the grounds, and then I was like, right, I need to get electric. I got solar. I want a goodish car, not like a Leaf 24, but something that I can do with a trip to London without stopping, or with one stop, preferably. And the MG fitted the bill.
Yeah. Okay. And you've got MG ZS, haven't you, as in the image behind you? Okay. And how long have you had it?
Since February 2020. So just before lockdown.
Cool. Right. Okay. And then moving on to Les, what did you have before, Les?
I had a 2-litre Skoda Superb diesel state, the elegance model, absolutely superb car. Really sorry to see it go, but I had to move to EV because it's just getting ridiculous costs for repairs and servicing. Not that it needed any repairs, but the servicing was going through the roof year on year. And the price of diesel, of course, is going up and up and up and up. It never stops. So my son, who's a Tesla owner, taught me into an MG5 estate because he knows I like estate cars. And I've been very happy with it. I've had it since March this year. And I've been very pleased with it so far.
Good. How do you find space-wise going from the Skoda? Because it's quite large, wasn't it?
Oh, it's much smaller. It's much smaller. Much smaller. More difficult to get into because it's quite low. The roof line on it, I don't know what it is about the roof line. Like, I've got to lean really forward to get into the seat. But once I'm in, I'm fine. Once I'm inside it, you must know, Stuart, you've got one yourself. Once you're inside it, it's quite comfortable. It's quite nice. It's a lovely ride. But getting in and out is a little bit, sometimes, a little bit of a screw to get in, but no problem. I had a chap in with me the day before yesterday. He was 22 stones, and we literally had to pour him into it. He couldn't get in the side. He couldn't get through the door. Mind you, he's getting on a little bit, so he was struggling.
So, okay, and then so obviously you've noticed a big difference going from a diesel.
There's a big difference in size in every area, in the cabin and in the boot especially. The boot is unbelievable.
Absolutely.
But, it was fine. It was fine. There's no problem. We got in there eventually, and once he was in, he was fine. He was happy. Once he was in, he actually commented, "It was the nicest ride he's ever had."
Excellent. Yeah, and it's interesting actually how I've had comments from a couple of passengers that I've had in the car that do.
I've done a couple of 3-hour, 3.5, 4-hour journeys and never felt the car, never felt anything.
And somebody did mention as well about the drone of the engine actually not tiring you out, because obviously we've got no engine going on. So there might be a bit of something to think about that as well. So Mike, going back to the ZS, so how's that for comfort?
Very comfortable. On all the journeys, the only thing that tires me out is basically it's ridiculously early in the morning I'm going, or it's just what's it called, the stress of driving in London when you're used to Welsh roads. But yeah, comfort's fine. I'm a pretty short fella, so whoever's behind me has got like a whole massive space. It can fit on like another sofa in between them and me. And everyone comments when they sit behind. Yeah, it's great how there's so much legroom.
Yeah, for sure. And Dave, what have you come from?
Well, the typical Nissan Leaf, of course. I had a Leaf 30 Techna. Had that since 2017. And that was really enjoyed that one. Hello.
Hello.
Yep.
Sorry, but didn't quite. Did anybody get that?
Stuart.
Yeah,
I think it's Wi-Fi that's wrong.
It was Stuart's gone, yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really good. I came to that from a dirty great big automatic diesel, which I'd had for about 6 years previously. I've had a history of having automatic diesels for 20 years odd as company cars. So I went from that, and then I just decided I really wanted to go electric. I jumped in a Nissan Leaf 30 at the dealers, and I wouldn't give it back to them. So that was, yeah, I said, no, I'll take the demonstrator. You can't wait. Yes, I will. Yes. So we did a deal on that. And then I had the opportunity to see the MG ZS about end of July 20 was, and that was a demonstrator one that went round to everyone, Miles.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a press car that went round, and I had a go in that, and I was blown away by it. So I decided, yeah, I'll have that one, that colour, and that was it.
Yeah, excellent. Sorry, my internet dropped and came back again, thankfully. I think I might have said before, I came from a Mercedes, and my biggest problem was actually just changing the brand and worrying about the comfort and the space, and even if you like the level of gizmos you get with a Mercedes. And actually, sort of 6 months in now, yeah, I've had it since January. I was actually saying to somebody today how much I really do like the car. So it's taking all sorts of people to jump ship to MG, but they are happening. Miles, I'm going to put you on the spot, because obviously you've had your opportunities with plenty of the MGs, haven't you? Either ZSs or MG5s.
Yeah, and a lot of different EVs also, because we've got all the other brands.
Of course, yeah. So what out of the MG range, what do you prefer?
So, my wife's got the ZS EV, and I've got the MG5 currently. Yeah. My wife came from a Jaguar I-Pace, actually. I was a way to spoil your wife. If you, I saw a really cheap lease deal on the Jaguar, and I basically said, "Oh yeah, go for that. We'll go. It's a really cheap deal. It works out about the same as getting a Nissan Leaf at the time." So I was like, "We'll go for that." Unfortunately, then you sort of create a bit of a rod for your own back in terms of what you're gonna follow it with. A £65,000, 400 brake horsepower Jag.
Yeah.
But thank God, she actually really, really likes the MG ZS. So the Jaguar she had was the entry level, so it didn't have speed adjusting cruise control. It didn't have. It had a really poor lane keep assist. It was like one way it binged off each lane, as it was more of a sort of swerve you back into the middle of the lane rather than stabilize in the middle.
Yeah.
it didn't have the panoramic roof and things like that. So actually going to the ZS EV, she actually got quite a few features that she didn't have in the Jaguar, including heated seats. So so yeah, so it was good that she likes that very much, and I like her car. I like the driving position. I think it's quite a comfortable car to drive in. Having said that, I prefer the seats in the MG5. They've got better lumbar support, I think, and I do tend to have quite a bit of lumbar support. I've got some low back issues, and I find that the adjusting the lumbar support to the max on the MG5 really helps me. I prefer the range on the MG5. But I mean, we've had all sorts of cars over the years, and I've in the current dealership group that I work in, I could have a Nissan Leaf 62 kilowatt hour E plus, or I could have a Hyundai Ioniq or a Hyundai Kona, and I have had in the past. I've had Ioniqs, I've had Konas, had the Nero, had all sorts really. So, but I've stuck with MG for the last, well, since the ZS came out, pretty much in sort of September 19. And I just think they're really good value for money, and I like the range on them as well. It just does a lot of stuff that some of the other ones you have to, it makes no odds to me. My company car tax is about £6 a month, so it makes no difference to me. What, and last year it was free, so it makes no difference which electric car I have. But I do tend to stick with the MGs because I think they're just into spaciousness. If you go for a Nero, they've got quite a small boot. The Kona was tiny boot, really. Sort of 3-4 bags of shopping and it was full. It's no good with having the dog and stuff. But yeah, no, I think that so that's why I've stuck with the MGs really for the last sort of 18 months or so, nearly 2 years. And looking to the rest of the future, when we've got the Hyundai Ioniq 5 coming out in July, I'll probably borrow on those for a few days to see what it's like, but I won't have it as my daily driver. And it's a Kia EV6 as well coming out, and they've got the Nissan Ariya. I think that MG's probably got a couple of things coming towards the end of the year as well, which might be nice as well. So I'll stick with MG probably.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because it's I find that I was trying to be really critical because it was a less premium brand, and I just can't criticize it. I don't know. So reasons for change then. So mine was purely financial, from not wanting the risk of paying another £1,000 bill to Mercedes once it went in for service and found something else with it, as well as the running costs doing high mileage. They were my two main reasons, really, saving money and saving running costs. And
got things, and it looks like the feed's gone out on the YouTube. Hopefully it's back. Apologies.
Are we back?
Back on now.
YouTube is fine.
Yeah, okay. So in terms of with the solar, for the last 2 days I've been off work, I've been able to push about nearly 30 kilowatts, so nearly a third of, no, 2/3 of the battery paid for just from solar. So yeah, definitely a money saver, big time.
Les?
Very similar to Mike in some respects. I mean, my Skoda was due for its next cam belt. It was going up to 140,000. It had one cam belt for 70,000, which cost me over £1,000. And it was coming up for another one, and I looked at everything that needed doing, and there was nothing really wrong with the car, but I thought about it, and I thought this is going to be like another 1,500 quid spent out here on this service with a cam belt. And I looked at it and I thought, well, like Mike, I've got solar, and I thought this is crazy. I've got to go electric. And it was my son who actually sent me an email, or sent me a text about the new Skoda, the new MG5 estate, because he knows I like estates. I've had 3 Skoda estates, and I've loved them, every one. They've been great. But he knew I wanted an estate for several reasons. But he sent me this one over, and I said, well, I'll go and have a look at it. And he couldn't believe it, and I phoned him up the following day and said, I bought it. He just said, well, you've done the right thing. And I must admit, as Mike has just said, the costs are absolutely, the difference is unbelievable. I've spent nothing, or very, very little. Might be a little bit fortunate in the respect of around where I live, there is one or two charges, rapids, that are on free vent most of the time. So I've used them quite a bit, but I have sort of been careful and charged it up on a slow charge. I have the Zappy charger. I think Mike has the same charger. And if I put it on eco with 1 lead, it puts in 1.4 as a continuous rate, which is very, very slow, and it tops it up lovely, and no problem.
Brilliant.
It costs nothing at all.
And Dave, obviously you've had a few before your ZS. So when you had your Leaf, what was the reason for changing?
I found it easier to get in and out of the ZS. So I've got like Miles, I've got some back issues, which are historical. And I just found it easier to get in and out. I like the tech on it because the Leaf 30 didn't have a lot of tech on it as such. There was no sort of lane keep assist or any of that kind of stuff, which I found useful for personal reasons. I find it easy to drive a long drive with all that technology on, so you can just put it into drive, put it into put it into full MG pilot, and that's it. You just basically sit there and make sure that you're still awake.
Yeah, we don't have pilot on the 5, but there you go.
That's one reason I wouldn't buy one.
Yeah, well, we got longer range than you though.
I don't mind.
I think
we were playing top trumps tonight.
Yeah, I know. This is what it is, isn't it? My range is better than yours, but you've got a sunroof.
I have.
Oh yeah, you get burnt head from it as well.
Yeah.
No, you got the nice shade coming across.
Yeah, but I got it open.
One thing I was going to say, guys, if the ZS had the range of the 5 or more, so if the ZS did over 200 miles, would you have bought the ZS instead of the 5?
Yes.
I didn't even know about the ZS. All I knew about was the 5. I thought the ZS was actually a petrol car.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know it was an MG electric car. I saw the advert for the 5, well, not the advert, but the YouTube video for the 5, and then made my inquiries. And even when I went to the showroom, no one said that there was another electric car. Bearing in mind we're in lockdown, so they're all on the forecourt, not in the showroom. And I specifically was interested in the estate because I've got dogs and I needed a lower sill. Mm-hmm. I think that was probably the reason why I just completely dismissed it. I didn't even ask. So it's interesting that no one said to be green. I think that's a retro thing for me, is I actually think saving money and now saving the planet a bit as well, aren't we?
Yeah, I think that's a very
we are.
I tend to think of myself as saving money was probably the major. If it had cost me lots more, I wouldn't have done it probably.
No,
that's the thing. I think that the fact that it's saving me money and it's also greener.
Yeah,
be green. If it was costing me loads more, I'd have to think, in terms of budgeting and things as to whether it was a viable thing for me to do. But I think that the fact that I'm saving an awful lot of money versus a petrol or diesel car, and that the proliferation of company cars now that are going electric, due to, like I said, I pay like £6 a month in company car tax, so it's like almost nothing. So it means that there's a lot of people who are going from. If you had a Qashqai diesel as your company car, that would cost you, by contrast, it cost me around £250 a month in company car tax.
Yeah.
Plus, then if I get a fuel allowance, I'd pay tax on that also. So as an electric car costs me £6 a month, it's like having a pay rise, isn't it? Really, for a lot of these guys that are moving to electric. You said that you would have chosen the ZS had it done more range. If the MG5 had the toys like the MG Pilot and things like that, would you still stick with the MG5? I'm trying to work out where the compromise is and what's important to people.
The only thing I will say on that, Miles, is the fact that the MG5 is easiest to get in. The MG ZS, is easiest to get in and out of.
Correct.
In my opinion. I did sit in one in the showroom when I first went to look at the MG5. I sat in one and I liked it. It was very nice. But the deal that they was offering at the time on the MG5, I could not turn away. The deal was ridiculous. The money that was involved in it. It was quite a significant amount of difference at the time. When I ordered mine back in November last year, and that's the reason it swayed me basically, with the cost plus the fact the range. Not that I'm going to use the range on a daily basis, but I do trip up and down to London a couple of times a year, and I do trip up and down to Devon a couple of times a year to see family. And when I'm doing them sort of trips, the range is handy. But generally, day to day running around. In fact, I'm trying to talk my wife now into having a ZS for her running them off. She's got a petrol car at the moment. She's getting a little bit old now. And I'm trying to get her into a ZS, but she keeps saying it's too big, it's too big. So we was hoping for the MG3 to come up with an electric version, but apparently it's not going to happen. So we'll just wait now and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, the news that I have is that there is bigger batteries coming to the ZS EV. There'll be a facelift as well, you know, similar to the petrol version. And so potentially the range of the ZS EV might exceed that of the MG5. In fact, the information I have loosely is that it could get, you know, sort of 300 miles plus.
But it's looking at a 60 then.
Sorry?
Looking at a 60 kilowatt hour.
Possibly 70.
Wow.
So that's where the ZS I think is going, although we're waiting for confirmation. And on the MG5, that's also obviously with the European facelift getting a bigger battery as well.
Yeah, let's get the bigger one. Yeah, 60
about 60 kilowatt hours, I think.
Yeah.
So my question was just, you know, if given choice, you know, whether in terms of the format of the car, whether a crossover or an estate is preferable to people, you know, whether you chose the estate because you wanted an estate, or whether you chose the ZS because you wanted a crossover, or whether it was just a case of, you know, or whether it was a case of, well, the panoramic roof comes on the ZS and you don't get one on the 5, or, you know, where people are, you know, are choosing, what features people choose when they're choosing their cars.
For me, one of my kind of things that I would never go back. The next main thing in my next car would be Apple CarPlay. For me, where I do the mileage that I do, I just love having that in the car. It's just brilliant. Other than that, I would love a sunroof. I think if the MG5 came with that, you're talking about a ZS with a longer range now, because of all the positivity that I've heard about the ZS. I me personally would certainly consider it, but I do have 4 dogs to consider, and at the moment, all 4. Well, 2 of them actually, because 2 are sausage dogs. But so the 2 that can jump into the boot of the ZS, of my 5. David George, I think it was on the chat, has asked how high is the lip on the estate. I've got a Whippet and a German Shepherd, and they both jump into it. He's mentioned his arthritic dog. I don't think that from a level, sort of like a standing start, an arthritic dog would probably be able to jump across above the lip.
No, I'd have to go measure it myself. I'm not sure. I think it's from what I would suggest is probably the loading lip is probably similar to the arm on our sofa rather than the base of our sofa. So our dog can jump up on the base of the sofa onto the seat, but he can't jump on the arm. He's it's between a Dachshund and a Cocker Spaniel. So he doesn't realize he's got little legs. He's basically Cocker Spaniel style. I think he wouldn't be able to probably jump into the boot. So we do lift him into the boot. We lift him out as well. I think that probably if it's an arthritic dog, I'd probably say you maybe even look at a ramp. You get those folding.
Yeah, there's a ramp, isn't there? Somebody else, Keith mentioned about the size. It's too big. The MG5 was too big for his wife and his daughter-in-law to drive. I think I saw that comment. Is the MG5 bigger than the ZS then?
I think it's about 2 centimeters longer. That's it. It's really, really not much different.
Not much in it.
I didn't think so.
If you park them nose to tail, end to end, side by side, whatever, there's about an inch in every dimension. It's not it's not, well, apart from width, so they're basically about the same. So it's just the format. Obviously, when you're higher up, I think when you're slightly, and again, you're not much higher, but in slightly higher in the ZS, you can perhaps see your corners a bit easier. Which I know some people, if they can't see where the bonnet finishes, they feel a bit nervous about, the front end of the car and things. So I think that sort of thing, I think perhaps makes the difference. Being slightly higher up, you got a better view, down, out, whatever. But yeah.
Can I ask you a question? The thing that it did get me the first time I ever got in it at the dealership last in November. And it was, I got in the car, he gave me the keys, and he said, yeah, come take it for a run, no problem. And straight away, I noticed where the rear view mirrors is this black box on the windscreen. I think it's there for the automatic wipers. I think it's there for the rain sensitive wipers. I'm not sure. Is that on the ZS as well? I can't remember.
Yep.
They've both got rain sensing wipers, yeah, and automatic lights.
Has it got this box on the windscreen? Has it got this black box on the windscreen?
So on the windscreen, on the top of behind the rear view mirror.
Behind the rear view mirror. The rear view mirror looks like
there's a camera there, and that camera is used for lane detection for your MG Pilot. It's used for your auto full beam for your headlights.
Yeah.
It's used for
the 5 hasn't got them.
No, and it's used for the like speed sign recognition and things like that. So the MG5 doesn't have that sensor in the
Well, the box is still there, yeah. I couldn't understand it. I've got used to it now. But I must admit, my wife said a couple of times that I can't see around that corner because of this box thing. I said, yeah, I understand what you're saying. And a few weeks ago, over the bank holiday weekend, my son came up from London, and he'd not seen the MG5 before. He'd never seen it, and he got in it and he said, lovely, very nice. He said, but what's this thing? I can't see where I'm going. I have to agree with him. It is a bit of a, I didn't know whether it was on the ZS or it wasn't. I couldn't say for sure. But it's obviously confirmed that it's there. But it is a bit big, isn't it, to say the least? I mean, I don't like it, but it is there for that reason.
I thought it's where they've moved the sunglasses holder to.
Yeah, well, on the Chinese one, the sunglasses holder is behind that, which is how my Superb was. It had a similar kind of thing, but not quite as big. But the sunglasses holder was in the middle, behind, over the mirror, in effect.
Yeah.
And in a great spot,
Right, we're going to move on a bit. I just want to finish this bit off because it's quite useful finding out where we've all come from and what we think. And so I'll give you all an opportunity to guess what is if you like, the brand that has the most people. How to put this? So which brand do you think most people have come over from? So for instance, there's a top of the charts. So one particular mark of car so this was in Stuart's thread, and there were 70 responses. So what do you reckon, Michael?
I don't think it's Ford is going to be the top, but considering Ford has completely missed the mark with electric for the last few years, I think they've had a lot of people leave the brand.
Okay, so you're going to say Ford?
I'm going to say Ford, but I don't think they're going to win.
Okay, Les, what do you reckon?
I've got a feeling it might be Nissan.
Okay.
I was thinking Nissan as well, to be fair. I was thinking because of the number of Leaf change. Dave, would you agree?
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure it's Nissan because it was the next step from the Leaf, basically.
Okay. What we'll do is we'll open it up publicly on the chat as well while I go through the chart as well. So we've got 2 Nissans. Les, what did you say anything? Nissan. So 3 Nissan, 1 Ford. I'll start at the bottom then on the ones. So
what do you think of it, Stuart, before you start? What did you think it was before you had the answer?
Yeah, I didn't know. To be perfectly honest, I didn't know. So because I started looking at the answers, I think there was one surprise, but I would have thought perhaps Nissan because of the evolution of, if you like, getting into an electric car, wanting more range, price point. I think probably the Nissan because the Nissan Leaf's gone up quite a lot of money, hasn't it, since the
Yeah, it's gone up quite a
battery's
bit.
gone up as well, hasn't it? So somebody else puts what they say, Mike, 'cause I can't see the chat so well. Someone said Skoda.
So Skoda being clever van. That's from doing Toby. Jake, Nissan Diesel. I moved away from. David, Skoda now do this. I think that's with reference to the glasses holder or the USB socket. Derek Cox, Prius for 5 years. A new one just in De Berg, Renault. I'm going to scroll all the way to the top. VW Golf 1.5. And that was from Andrew Dyson.
One ZS Ice.
Well, good shout. So let's go through it then. So I'll go through all the ones. Okay, so in alphabetical order: one Audi, one Fiat, Hyundai, Jag, Land Rover, Porsche, Renault, Rover, Subaru, Suzuki, Tesla, Vauxhall, and Volvo. The Tesla was a 3. The Subaru was a Forester. The Rover was a 75, not a Rover 2000. Les, you remember them? We got somebody came from a Porsche Boxster and a Land Rover Defender and a Jaguar XF Estate out of those ones. Any surprises there, do we reckon?
The Tesla, but it could have been a company car, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, could have been, yeah.
Okay, so the twos so we've got Dacia, which I guess is a kind of natural thing, isn't it?
Dacia is a very price conscious Renault.
Yeah, typically, isn't it? And then we've got Seat as well, of which I know Dave on our forum, who also hosts, came from a series of Seats, I think. So 2 Seats. So 2 Seats, 2 Dacias. Then in the threes, we've got Skoda, or as they say, Skoda, I think it is, how they're supposed to say it, Skoda. Sounds almost Scandinavian now, doesn't it? Yeah. Mini, and they were all Mini, regular Minis, not the old style. And 3 Mazdas and 3 Citroens. So I think the Citroens were 2 C3s and is it Doblo? I think something like that. I don't know. Berlingo.
Berlingo, yeah.
Right, we got 3 with 4. So we have VW, and the most popular one was Golf Estate and a Passat, I think it was as well. So 3 Golfs and a Passat. And somebody else actually came from an R32 Golf.
Nice.
He actually said because he couldn't legally do the speeds the Golf can do anyway.
That's right.
So it's fair enough, isn't it? So yeah, it probably misses the noise though. I'd have to rev to myself, I think, as I was driving along, I think. So we've got the VW. Kia, there was a Sorento in there, a Nero, and a couple of others, I think. Ford with 4. So that was yours then. So someone's saying here, Toyota Corolla. So yeah, Mike, one of those was yours. There was 2 Cougars, a Fiesta, and a Focus.
Which Focus? Because Focus was a nice handling car, the first generation.
They're really sought after now as well, aren't they? They're like the 2000s, aren't they? They're around about the 2000s, I think. The 2 litre rather.
Yeah, they had a 1.6 petrol, and I enjoyed it, but it eated oil, a lot of oil. I was pouring like a litre a week into it.
Oil.
It's not the stuff that goes into the fuel tank, it's the thing that goes into the engine to make it work.
My son used to have a Focus Estate, which was LPG.
Oof.
Before he changed over to Tesla.
Okay, then right. So the 5s. So as Dave alluded to, MG. Okay, we've had one person came over from an ICE, ZS. There was a ZTT.
Yeah.
something 160, one of the old MGs. And I think the other one might have been a petrol, no, another EV ZS. That's XS rather. So another petrol XS. Or maybe it was an EV. It was an EV. He's up, I think he's upgraded. Anyway, so yeah, definitely XS anyway. ZS? That's ZS. Yeah. I'll get my Zs and my Xs mixed up, aren't I? So ZS is the, yeah. So then we've got 2 at 6. So what do we reckon then? Because we've not mentioned one of the brands. So Nissan, 6, and there was an X-Trail, an NV200 thing, which is a van, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Then a couple of Leafs and a Primera.
Mhm.
Primera?
I'm here.
Right. And then the next one is BMW with 6. And most of those, I think 5 of them were i3s,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes
which
sense.
is
Yeah.
following that Leaf Trail, isn't it? Oh, excuse the pun. Yeah, so the Leaf Trail.
It's the natural progression, to be fair. You want a slightly bigger car, so you go from the sort of Playmobil, then you get the little red and yellow one that you have when you're 5 years old, and then you get an i3, then you get your car, So
You get a real car. You get your dream MG after your BMW.
So you get to use the back doors as well,
yeah.
Yeah.
And then top of the charts that nobody mentioned,
Which is
Renault,
Toyota,
Toyota.
Prius.
Prius, of course.
Yeah, taxi drivers getting the 5 instead, maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, Prius. There was an Avensis, I think, and a couple of others as well. I haven't mentioned Mitsubishi actually. They've had 5 as well. There were a couple of Outlanders. Somebody had
Outlander PHEV.
Yeah.
PHEVs. Yeah. So you can almost see that progression, can't you, with the popular ones? If someone's tried to go electric, it looks like people have tried electric, and then
Yeah.
I think there's quite a lot of upgrade-itis with EV owners. It's a bit like being a technical product almost. It's a bit like iPhones in that, when you've had one, you then go, okay, well, I want the one that's going to give me more features, more range, more whatever. And I think they're really good. Or they've perhaps tested the water with a used Nissan Leaf as a first car, as a second car to try out EVs first. And then they've gone, okay, well, we can replace the main family car with this, So I think we see a lot in our showrooms. We see a lot of people who've, they've had a Leaf 24 or a Leaf 30. They didn't buy it brand new. They've bought it, perhaps, I say, in that sort of as a second car, sort of commuter car, and then they've gone, right, well, we're going to get this as our first main car. And I think that obviously the MG, a lot of people are new to the MG brand because there was that gap quite a few years where there was no MG dealerships in the UK. In some ways, a bit of a reboot for MG to launch as an EV brand, and to get people, when they first launched the MG6 and the MG3 and the MG ZS petrol, it was very, 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 very low numbers of sales. The MG and the MG HS they had as well. Up until about 2017, which is when we started with the MG brand, the number, they sold like 2,500 cars a year then. And then they, and now, they sold like, 5,000 ZS EVs last year. So, just massive growth, mainly on the electric side of things, which is great, I think it's great for the brand. It's great for them to get a foothold in this market and to, sort of steal the charge on.
Definitely. Mike, you got any other chat going on? What have we got?
So, quick question. I'm just reading this question verbatim. I'm a little bit scared to buy an MG. There are only 5 dealers in all of Belgium. Kind of scary. Is no one else having the problem? How far is the dealership from your house?
So it's put on here. It's like 50 miles from his property, from where he lives, is the nearest one.
Yeah.
So I suppose that in the UK there's 120 MG dealers, so you're never too far away. When you've got only a few dealers, one thing I will say is, Toby, is that the MG dealers in Belgium will grow. there are going to be more. MG is pushing quite a long way into Europe, and with the launch of the 2 new electric cars, the MG5 and the Marvel R that's coming later this year to Europe, I'd expect that number of dealerships to grow quite considerably, as it has done in other European countries. So I think, you know, if you've got a dealership that's there at the moment, I think that they're probably going to do very well out of it, because there's only a few dealers at the moment. But as they get more and more competition, they'll have to work harder, obviously, to retain you going to them. But I don't see any major problems. In the UK, we've just grown and grown. In Norway, it's grown and grown. They're expanding the network across Europe, looking at going into Spain and all sorts now. So I think that I wouldn't be scared in that sense, that there will be some more dealers coming to you very soon.
Anything else, Mike?
Yeah, so Richard just said, I got my ZS petrol in September 2018. He didn't see many on the roads. Now today, he saw 3 other petrols, but he hasn't seen a ZS EV. Trust me, you will. I saw a petrol, no, an EV today, and no petrols. And then usually on my commutes in and out, I see lots of petrols. I'm just scrolling up to find another one. What do you think about the goods of fully buying out Ecotricity from Stephen Green asks?
Great news. Great news.
Brilliant news.
Yeah.
Why is it great news? For a newbie like myself, I have no allegiance or really understanding other than the bad rep that Ecotricity have got. Is this why you're saying it's good, Dave?
Yeah, I think it's good for 2 reasons. One is that GridServe they seem very dedicated to putting in not only 1 or 2 chargers, putting in charging hubs, and they've got plans to do that throughout the UK, including at some of the current Ecotricity sites, like we've seen in Rugby, for instance. Plus, they're pledged to actually replace all of the aging Ecotricity stuff. And to be fair, it isn't totally Ecotricity's fault, as Miles said the other week. As Miles said the other week, it's damn difficult to get some of these French spares and components, and expensive. So if you want to get a lead, a cord for one of their chargers, it could be 3 months and £10,000, you know, just to get a couple of leads. And so I think the fact that they are committed to and are delivering currently lots of new chargers, even in existing Ecotricity places. I've got a map here with it all on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 19 have already been replaced on motorway services.
Yeah, I just hope that Cardiff West, which was upgraded, has stopped working for the last week. So I'm hoping this isn't a long-term thing where they replace them and they break. Hopefully they come around and refix it again.
That looks like a communication problem.
Because it was working for a few days, then just that's it.
To be fair,
Hey, did you post that list that you've got the over 19 charges on the forum at some point?
It's already been posted as a map on the forum.
Well, I looked this morning on ZapMap because we're planning to go down to Devon in the next couple of weeks. And I looked on I seen on the forum something about Ecotricity now called GridServe. ZapMaps have got something called GridServe now on the map. So I went on that and I put in GridServe and went down. And honestly, every charger, apart from Sandbach, which is on the M6, and another one which was further down, I think it was Franklin, every charger all the way down to where I was heading in North Devon was either issues reported or out unavailable.
Well, Moto Bridgewater.
I couldn't understand it, considering they're sort of doing all this upgrading. I thought this is like about 9 or 10 different chargers was, and 2 out of the 9 was the only 2 that was working from what I could see this morning.
Well, Moto Bridgewater has been upgraded.
Right.
And then not many down there have been so far. Frankly Southbound has been upgraded.
That's right, that was one, yeah.
and Norton Keynes on the M6, on the M6 toll has been upgraded.
Toll road, yeah. Toll road, yeah.
So that's been done. Sandbatch has been done.
Yeah.
And local to me, thank God, is the Junction 10 on the M42, which didn't even have a CCS before. It just was a single Shadowmo unit, which was useless to me totally. So now I've got.
West.
Yeah.
I was planning mine out this morning, and I finished up. I thought, well, I'm leaving with a full charge. I'm going to go down to Stroud, where there is 5, I think, maybe 4 Instavolts, which I'm 95% sure.
Yeah. The Instavolts are pretty solid all the time.
They're pretty good Instavolts, very good.
Yeah.
Are very good.
Yeah, so on Zap Maps, the older ones is listed as Ecotricity. The newer upgraded ones, it's grid serve in capital letters, and then it says electric highway in normal case afterwards.
That's right, Mike. That's right. Yeah, I looked at it today.
Right, let's find another question. Richard says, I'll keep looking for the green strip in the number plate. With my car, it's pre-green plate, but the best way to tell is no fog lights on the ZS.
That
Right.
and the fact that the
Well,
blue colour's only ever been available for EV.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've had on the forums in the last week is, I don't know if Les, you mentioned it at all within the chat on the forum, but we've got Aussie P asking about detailing and paint protection. He's got a hashtag Team Red, same as I do, because that's the right colour. It's 6 months old and the paint luster is fading already, which I haven't noticed that in mine, to be perfectly honest. So,
Yeah, but you're not in Australia, are you?
Yeah, to be fair,
So-
Bullshit. This is one of the reasons my wife wanted that red car. She was going mad for that red car, and I said, look, I said, we've had a red Micra, we've had a red Polo, and we've had another one that was red. I can't remember what it was. And every one of them, over a couple of years, the paint sort of went flat, absolutely flat and faded. And I thought, I ain't having another red car. I'm not going to buy a brand new one at this sort of money. I'm going to go with the blue one, which I did.
Yeah.
And strangely enough, my neighbour, 2 doors up the road, he's bought a red one. A couple of days after, well, a week after I bought mine, he went off to Charlie MG, which I mentioned before, and he bought one, a red one, the MG5 red. And he said, every time I look at it, it seems as though there's a patch somewhere. He keeps polishing it, keeps going at it and polishing it. I said, well, you shouldn't be doing that. I mean, the only thing I've had with the blue is I had a nasty stone chip. It wasn't very big, but it was right on the front of the bonnet. And I got the touch-up paint from the dealer, from the local MG dealer. I had to order it in. And I used it. I mean, I'm not the greatest one in the world with a little brush, but the colour's not quite there. It just isn't quite right. And I've done it a couple of times now, and it just doesn't seem as though it's quite right, the colour. I don't know what it is. But apart from that, the paint's been no problem.
I must admit, sorry, Miles, did you want to say something?
I was going to say about the red paint. So the red, I used to have a red Alpha, and that went pink. And red cars, typically, it's to do with the pigment they use in the paint. It does fade under UV. So basically, if you leave it outside, it's gonna fade. It's gonna go pink. The whole thing about the tri-coat paint that we've got on the MGs, and it's also tri-coat on the Teslas as well, is that basically by putting this 3-coat application process, it's supposed to protect against that. It's supposed to stop it fading. Now you said that the luster is fading rather than the paint itself is fading.
Yeah.
So what I'm assuming is it's a reaction between perhaps a bit more dust in the air, perhaps quite a lot of obviously UV sunshine, etc. I would recommend most people to get a form of paint protection, whether it's ceramic coating or if it's just 3 or 4 good layers of wax that done fairly regularly. I'm a bit of a clean freak with my cars. I do tend to try and keep wash them every week. I try and do it because, well, for start with my work, if my car suddenly, like tomorrow, I've been asked today to go tomorrow to Manchester to have the MG5 photograph for the Greater Manchester EV team for them doing, they're doing some promotional shots on their network. And they wanted to have a variety of cars. And they asked if I can bring my MG5 down. So tomorrow, on the way there, I'm going to make sure that I get it cleaned again so that it's nice and shiny for photos and stuff. And it's the sort of stuff that I end up doing at sort of late notice. So I can't keep my cars dirty; they've got to be clean. And I do clean my wife's car as well. But in terms of so I tend to do a big polish. First sort of clear weekend we get, in the spring, I tend to give it a really good coat of polish and full decontamination with clay bar and all that sort of stuff, and then extra top coat protection on top and all that sort of stuff. I've got probably about £300 worth of auto glim, etc., and Maguire's products in the garage that I just keep buying every time I go somewhere. But in terms of would I recommend other paint protection? Yeah, I think ceramic coating is a good shout, and particularly if you're in a location where you have extremes of weather, and whether that's that you have extreme rain in Wales, extreme snow in Norway, or extreme sunshine in Australia. I think that paint protection is a pretty good thing, because for the cost it puts on the car, being put on the car, the extra protection it gives to the paint is obviously cheaper than a respray, isn't it? So
I think when you're buying a car, though, it's like I'm not too technical. I like the color red. I wanted a red one, and I paid more because I bought the red one, I believe.
Yes, the tri-coat paint is a more expensive paint finish because it is an additional process when they're painting it.
And then
an extra £600 over the white one, something like that.
And then I think I bought some kind of protection with it as well. So
like Superguard or
yes, that's it.
Diamond Bright or whatever.
Yeah, but I must admit, when I took it to the local car wash place, hand wash place, and you sit there with some others, while they're shamming it off, and I was so impressed. When I actually got back in the car, it was a nice sunny day, but I couldn't find any fault with it, other than the bit I scraped with the windscreen wiper. So I can't say that I've noticed in the 6 months. Yeah, and Dave, you got a good point about being in Australia. I'm not sure if Aussie Pete, he might not be in Australia. I'm not sure if he's.
I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that kind of justifies it as well. If he's in the bush, he's going to be sandblasting it as well, isn't it? And kangaroos jumping all over it as well, isn't there? And koala bears.
I hope not.
Well, what would you ask you? I mean, at the end of the day, you were down in Southampton, I believe, yeah?
Yeah, we're pretty much near the equator from you.
Yeah.
You're getting a bit lower than the rest of us, and also you've got the sand and everything coming off the solvents every day, and the salt and everything else. So yours will show up before anybody else, would think.
And I'll add, we actually live in the blast zone of a refinery as well. So we do have all the muck that comes out of those chimneys landing on the car, and it hasn't affected it either. It probably gives it an extra sparkle, actually.
I like to keep my car clean. I wash it regularly and make sure it's clean and tidy as best I can.
Apparently Aussie Pete's in Scotland.
Yes. He's the same country as Dave is from.
Yeah, Dave's on tonight, so he'll probably comment next week.
Anything else, Mike, in the chat?
Yes. Can you retrofit the ice fog lights to the ZS EV? Asked Barry.
I don't know. There's no wiring in for them. You'd have to run a new loom. You'd have to run an additional switch. The bottom half of the bumper would need changing. You probably could, but I'd be inclined to think probably don't bother. But I mean, it's one of them. You probably could. It's like I've got some, and I think we've talked about this before. You can retrofit some LED lights in the rear of the cabin to go, next to the grab handles in the back. But you've got to drop your headlining down. You've got to wire it all in yourself, and it's a bit of a faff. It's just whether you think it's worth it or not. I haven't tried measuring them to see if they will. And I imagine you'd be able to get a bumper complete with fog lights off of eBay, for scrap or whatever, and give it a go. But
go for a couple of those rally type ones, the civvies that used to have in the 80s.
Oh, the big round ones.
Yeah, with the yellow lenses.
Just go to Halford and staple a couple of Hella fog lights to the front of it.
Hella fog lights, yeah.
Yeah.
Just off the charging
I
ports.
stole Mark one.
So again, Mike.
just in between the two charging ports, having the two fog lights.
Absolutely. You'd be able to see them at night as well, wouldn't you, when you would turn around?
Yeah.
Ideal. See, there you go. Maybe there's something we could market. Somebody, Keith, has mentioned that he spent 54 pence Instavolt on the chat.
I think he tested it, so he just activated the charge, tested it,
Yeah,
and then
I did that when I first got it with Pod Punch, and that's when I got charged at £30.
Oh yeah, you said about holding on.
It took me about 2 weeks to get it back, and I did it with Instavolt, and I put I think I put £3.50 and 10 kilowatts, something like that. It was about 35 pence a kilowatt at the time, just to test, just to make sure everything was okay with the car, because I didn't want to end up on the M1 and suddenly find out it wouldn't rapid charge. So I needed to check it, and obviously reading on the forum, I've read that people have had problems charging up and down. So I just wanted to test mine out and make sure it was as it should be, and it was. It was fine. It's been fine. It's not been a problem since. Not been a problem at all.
Also, another question from Gary. Any news on what battery could be in the new MG3?
No, I don't have any news as to what size of battery it is. I know that they're targeting a range of over 150 miles. But it's obviously, if it's a smaller car, it's maybe going to get away with a slightly smaller battery, help with cost and everything else. So I'd be surprised if it was over 40 kilowatt hours, because I think, for a small car, you don't particularly need it. I think that, whilst we'd all love to have loads and loads of range in the cars, obviously the battery is a major component of cost, and weight. And in some ways, you put a bigger battery on, it weighs more, and then it needs to use more power to actually get anywhere. So I think if we could, if they're going to look at putting a battery in, I'd suspect it'd be around the 40 kilowatt hour. They might surprise me, they'll put a bigger battery in, but I think they'll probably benchmark against the other smallish cars. I know Zoe's got a 50, isn't it? But it's a 47 usable, I think, in the Zoe. I think that they'd suspect that for the size of the car, people are probably more likely to use it on an urban type journey, or certainly short journeys, second car sort of situation. It doesn't.
We're going somewhere along the Leaf 24 or the Leaf 30, won't we? So
it doesn't necessarily need a big, 70 kilowatt hour battery or whatever. Whereas a more family sized car, such as the ZS or the 5, would benefit from that bigger battery pack, because they do tend to get used on long journeys, and they also tend to be used with bigger loads and things like that, and higher speeds and so on.
Just probably one last one before we go then. So we've got Hakam 07 wrote about a delay when he presses the accelerator pedal on his MG5. He says, or she says, sorry, or they say, should I say, I have a delay in my MG5 gas pedal, which I'm assuming is the accelerator. It's happening only when I begin to drive from 0. Any ideas? Is that from the auto
brake? I would have thought.
Yeah, I would imagine auto brake. I'm just reading through the thread to see if there's any further information.
Yeah, I commented on that thread. I told him I thought it was either the auto brake, or did they have it in eco, or either of those two can give you a slight hesitation, but auto brake is usually the thing that gives you like an eighth of a second before it comes off.
When you get the lunge,
then it goes.
Yeah, I've not noticed anything. I say, apart from auto brake, which is just doing that whole way, you've got to wait whilst it releases the braking. I've not seen that.
I kind of know. Yeah, I kind of know that I'm in that auto brake thing, and know that I've got to wait a little while. So, but yeah, and again, just lastly, someone's asked about the infotainment. Any news on the upgrade, because people are complaining about the lag? I don't really get any. Does anybody else get any lag? Is that the MG one? Sorry, is that the MG?
Yeah.
I don't use that.
I use Android Auto as well, so I don't really suffer with any sort of lag, so I just don't use it. But
I don't suppose you're on Android or Apple?
Me?
Yeah. What do you use?
I've not used any of them. I've just used the in-car
Yeah.
navigation system.
Did you find there's any lag on that?
A couple of times I've had a problem getting the information into it.
Ah,
It sort of scrolled and then it wouldn't go, and I've turned it off, turned it back on again, and it's gone. But it has played up a couple of times, but nothing serious. I've not actually tried Apple CarPlay or the Android. I don't know how to do that, so I've not tried it yet. I don't know. I'll wait for somebody to show me what to do.
you're missing a trick there because it's really good, especially when you do your Apple Music, Les.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't allow to load music onto a phone.
And your Spotify and your podcast, Les, that you listen to.
No, I have got Spotify, and
Well,
that,
there you go.
I don't use it much. But yeah, it's okay. It's got a bit of a delay on it sometimes, yeah. But so once it's working, it seems to be fine. It's quite informative once it's working.
It is a bit laggy though. It is a bit laggy.
To be fair, it was on the change log to sort out, so I haven't heard that there's an update available yet, but I know we're looking into whether they could improve things.
Cool, good stuff. Right.
Quite informative once it's working, I think. It gives you a lot of information, and well in advance of your manoeuvres, you know, where you're going to go left or right or whatever. It gives you plenty of information. It's quite good in that respect. Plus, you've got the, you're on strange roads, so you've got the speed thing there. It tells you what the speed is on that road, whether it's 40, 50, or whatever it is. In case you don't see the speed sign, you never know, do you? But I find it okay.
Well,
Not brilliant, but it's okay.
I've got to say, Android Auto has been a revelation. I've only just got a phone that actually works with the car about a month ago. I had a phone that would just refuse to operate with the car in any way, shape, or form.
I had that problem, Dave. With the Skoda, I couldn't get the Apple. The Apple would not work with Skoda. There's no way. No. And I was told by the dealership that if I'd got the car 6 months younger, 6 months after I bought mine, they altered it, and they couldn't upgrade my car. Yeah, really annoyed me.
Well, I've got to say the best thing for me is plug share on Android Auto, because if you're going along in that, you can actually click a button that says just show me the nearest chargers, and it's great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you just put up plug share, and you as soon as the bell dings and you goes, oh, you're down to low charge, click on plug share, click on show me the nearest chargers, and it goes 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm near that one. I'll just jump in there. Fantastic.
All right. On that note, let's wrap it up for this evening. So before we go, there's a few things I want to bring to everybody's attention. If you haven't seen the chance to get a £25 voucher for completing EV owners survey and joining the plugged in community, head over to the MGZS EV forum and have a read of the sticky thread there. Please look at our merch. It's changing all the time. We've added quite a few new options in the last few weeks. I know there's quite a snazzy 4+ kilowatt hour thing. I was actually considering that, but I can't get to that level yet. So when I get to 4 miles per kilowatt hour, maybe I might even try that, but I can't seem to get there. I don't know, something to do with my right foot, I think. So please look out for that. Please check it out and make that easier. There's a link to the shop from the forum on the menu. Finally, if you'd like to support us, please consider MG EV's forum premium membership, just £3 a month. It gives you the premium member badge, the ability to upload a profile banner, the ability to select the MG red theme, a discount code for the merch, full 10% when you use the code, and you're helping to support the community and this podcast. So that's it for the podcast this week. My thanks to Mike Fisher.
Good evening, all.
And Les Burrows.
Here we see you next time, Will.
Dave Bell.
Cheers now.
And a special thanks as ever to Miles Roberts from the Chorley Group.
Thanks all.
We will be back with the MG EVs podcast soon. Thank you very much for tuning in, and good night.